Hey, what's up guys? In this video I'm going to show you what I believe is the fastest and most efficient way to case windows and doors when a multi-piece head or sill detail is called for, referred to as some by a architrave, which would be the more architecturally correct term. I'm going to try and show you how to be very profitable at this. We're going to cover the material rack, the miter saw setup, your cut list for batch cutting, how to batch cut the side legs, and then how to use a stop block super effectively to reduce errors and be able to cut all your pieces really quickly. I'll show you one of the innovations that I've made that I'm most proud of that has really helped me to be really efficient on these multi-piece window head details. I think you're really going to enjoy the video, so we'll get started here at the beginning. Okay, so first off, I've got my cut list here, and I'm going to get ready to start batch cutting all these pieces using my stop block system. This is a piece of magnetic tape, so it can be calibrated however I want it to. So I need to recalibrate it now. Now I just want to cut a test piece, let's say at 24 inches. I'm going to line my crosshairs up with 24, just to make sure that this is calibrated correctly. So I'm actually at about 24 and a 32nd. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull my tape this way at 32nd. And now that's exactly calibrated for length. Here I'm cutting my side legs. Notice the efficiency that I have by being able to pull material right off the rack onto my miter saw wings and then batch cut using my stop block and my cut list. With windows, there's a lot of the same length pieces on the side legs, so using a stop block adds a ton of efficiency here. After I've got my side casings cut, I'll scatter them and distribute them at the window they go to and nail them on, and then we'll start on the head pieces. I'm going to do all of the windows together, so I'll take my measurement from across the top and across the bottom, make sure that they're the same. If they're not, I'll take my rubber mallet and kind of bang it a little bit to get them where they need to be. So then I'll make a cut list of all these widths. I'll keep track of the windows, like these two will be the same, and I'll batch cut the windows that are the same. And then after I move through the windows, we'll go ahead and start tackling the doors. Those two would be like the same also. So here's my cut list at the saw. I've got all my windows, and if there's two of them, you see the X2, that tells me to batch cut those. Now I can start cutting away on this list. Just to show you what's going on, we'll come out here to the garage, which I already have done. So this is the window detail. It'll get a 5/4 board by 6 there, a 1x2 there, 1x2, and 1x4. Alright, so at this point I need to adjust my stop block. I've got my piece of casing here, and then my 5/4 by 6 piece is gonna have an offset of a 1/4 inch to match this reveal right here. And then my 1x2 is gonna have a 1/2 inch offset off the side to match this reveal right here. So this piece will in total have to be a 1/2 inch wider than my casing measurement outside to outside, and this piece will have to be 1.5 inches wider than my casing measurement outside to outside, because it's 3/4 of an inch, because it's 1/4, 1/2 times 2. So that's what I'm going to do next. So at this point I want to recalibrate my tape measure so that whenever I'm actually butting my piece of wood up to the end of my stop block, it's actually going to be adding a 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch times 2. So what I'm going to do I'm gonna peel up my magnetic tape. I've got it right on 46 right now. I'm gonna pull it over 1/2 of an inch. So I'm actually just recalibrating it to always cut this piece. So all I have to do now is take my outside of casing measurement, put it on here, and let's say it was actually 46. Now I have to move this 1/2 inch over, and that'll give me my 1/2 inch offset right here. So next, I need to come over here and make my secondary stop block 1 inch offset. That way, I'm a total of 1.5 inches offset for this piece, 3/4 plus 3/4. So I've got to bump to this piece right here for this one, and then this one, my bottom stop block for this piece. Then I can just put my crosshairs right on my outside to outside measurement, and I'm good to go to cut this piece and this piece. Okay, I've got a bunch of pieces cut here, but first I want to show you the next step, and that is easing the edges. So this is my casing profile. You can see that it comes milled with a 5/32 edge, or a 5/32 round over on the casing. You can see here it's got the back relief. So I like my other pieces to all match this edge. So you can see there, I round over all of my corners and edges to match this casing. Same going around here on the bottom, so that's what I'm gonna do next. Here's all my pieces laid out that I just diced up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit these with the 5/32 round over bit, and then I'm gonna nail my 1x2 onto the top. I find it's a lot more efficient just to nail this piece on the bench versus trying to do it piece by piece on the window in this instance. So that's what I'm gonna be doing next. These are actually the door headers. I forgot to take video of doing the window pieces, but you still get the idea. It's the same concept. I like to use the DEWALT cordless nailer for this. That way I don't have to drag an extra hose and carry an extra 18 gauge nailer for tasks like this. So the next thing I do is I use my jig, which is just a piece of scrap 1/4 inch by 3/4, and I can actually use this to mark all of my reveals with this jig. This is a 1/4 inch reveal up here, so I just gotta make one line there. Down here, this apron will be flush with the edge, so I'll mark that there, and then this 1x2 here will stick past 3/4. So I just put my piece on the flat, mark that, and I've got that offset there. So I'll go around and I'll mark all of these edges. I've got my 15 gauge nailer with 2.5 inch nails. So I'm going to use my lines on the side to make sure I'm even and where I need to be. Got the outside of my casing lined up nice. Now here, this window is pushed out too far and I've got a gap up here. So I want this margin out here to be the same, and I don't want this gap. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop the window open, and I am going to throw a clamp on it. And after I've got my margin the same here, I've still got a gap here, but I'm gonna go ahead and nail a couple of solid nails in there is gonna keep this piece running parallel with the front edge of this and keep my reveal nice. Now I can go ahead and pull it all the way in with my clamp. brads in this casing also to help hold that. So now I pop my clamp off and I'm nice and tight here, and I've got a nice reveal here. Same thing. I'm gonna put a clamp on it, then pull this in. So now that's nice and tight. I can nail from the underside. You might be wondering why I use nails that are 15 gauge and 2.5 inches long. I like to use a nice big nail here because it keeps this pulled really nice and tight, and it helps as I'm pulling things around to make sure this reveal here stays consistent. So we don't want that casing to be on there looking like it's cockeyed. So now I'll put this piece on. Next up is my pre-installed headpiece. So I'll look where my marks are, get that so it's even. You want to kind of be nailing down and pulling down so that this stays tight right there. Now that's good to go. You do have to have some patience whenever you're installing window trim, because you've got to be willing to put a clamp on it whenever it needs it to get it pulled around where it needs to be. Here I was so close to these off-angle drywall corners. It's got mud buildup, so things just needed to be pulled around a bit more than normal. Technically the windows were where they needed to be. It was just the mud buildup made the drywall thicker. And for you guys who have been asking, I am liking my new Occidental leather finisher tool belt. It's been working pretty good. It's not perfect, but I definitely like it. So hopefully this is making sense to you guys. I'm trying to be thorough enough as if I was training somebody to pick up a gun and start doing this themselves, and concise enough that I don't bore you to death and lose your attention. So let me know in the comments what you think of the video, what improvements I need to make, and if you've got any questions about anything I'm doing. Now that we've got the windows done, we'll switch over to doors and talk about the process for doing the door headers, which is quite a bit simpler than the window headers. Guys, real quick, I'm not sure if I covered this yesterday well or not. The whole idea here is you want to be able to do this whenever you're completely distracted and your head's not in the game, and just go on cruise mode and be productive. I know a lot of guys think, well, I can do that all in my head and I can mark super duper fast and all that, but that's not good finished carpentry technique. You want to dumb things down as much as possible so that you're efficient all the time, even when you've got 50 people calling you on the phone and you're thinking about something else, that you're still not making mistakes. Because from a time perspective, the worst thing that you can do is make a mistake and have to go back and redo something and recut stuff. So with this system, I don't ever have to do that, and that's why I do it this way. Okay, so at this point, I've got all of my windows cut and installed, and I'm gonna move to doors. Another important thing is generally with your cut list, like I've got 10 different items on this cut list, I want to start cutting with my longest lengths first, and then I'll just cross those off the list as I go and number them accordingly. And the reason is you'll get a lot better material optimization by cutting your longest pieces first, then you set your short scraps aside, and then you can use those on the smaller, narrower widths of doors. So I'm always thinking about that material optimization also as I go. The worst thing you can do is do a whole bunch of cutting, get to the end, and save your long lengths to the end, and then have a whole bunch of scrap material that's not going to get used on the job. So we want to avoid that. So I just finished cutting all those pieces. A couple quick tool plugs. This new DEWALT compact cordless router has been really great. I really like it. I'll link it in the notes below along with this bit. It's the 5/32 bit. It's my favorite bit and my most used router bit by far. I use it to ease all my edges on skirt boards and stuff like that. I find it's just the right sweet spot between an 1/8 and 3/16. 1/8 not quite being enough and 3/16 being too much. And the other tool I bought last year that actually I have 2 of these, is this blower from DEWALT. And it's awesome whenever you're routing and you got junk everywhere. You can just clear the table off super fast. I use it to blow off my miter saw, table saw, whatever. It's a lot better than having an air hose with a blower, because then you have to have a hose and it taxes a small air compressor too much. So I'll link this in the notes below also. This has been money well spent. Definitely no regrets there. So I've got all my pieces cut right here. So I'm going to carry this stack to the area where these go and distribute them at the respective door opening. They're all numbered, so I'll know right where they go. So I'm nailing off all my head pieces now on my doors, and I'll stop and just show you on a couple here. It's pretty straightforward. Again, I've got all my doors numbered. Because this is a 1-inch board, you definitely want to be using 15 gauge nails, 2.5 inches long. I'm going to use my little gauge block, offset 1/4 inch there. I'm going to try and hit it down so that this stays tight. Some people might think you need to glue this, you don't. This board is not going to expand and contract at the length any, and if this is acclimated, the caulk joint along here is going to absorb any movement, so glue is not critical there. So then I would just nail this with 1.5 inch 18 gauge, watching to keep my reveal and adjusting accordingly. Sometimes if it gets a little too high up in there and you need to bring it down, I'll stick the corner of my pry bar in and pull it down. You can also do the same with the chisel, but I don't typically carry a chisel. So, pretty basic stuff. So, hope this helps. Let me know if you've got any questions. I'll try and answer them in the comments below. And the links for the tools that I'm using will also be in the notes below. So, thanks for watching and have a good day.